We have been living on our catamaran for 6 months now, and it has been the best summer we have ever had. But as you can imagine, moving full-time onto a liveaboard yacht hasn't been easy, and we've made some bad decisions along the way.
So in this video, we're going to share our biggest regrets since moving on board Rúna, the bad decisions we've made and the things we wish we did differently.
We're also going to cover some of the decisions that everybody told us we were going to regret, but actually turned out to be some of our best decisions yet. Cue the titles.
Let's start the video by talking about all the decisions that we made that we were told we were going to regret, but we actually don't regret at all. And then at the end of the video, we'll talk about the things we actually really did cock up. And let's start with the most controversial of all of our decisions, the type of batteries we decided to install on our brand new boat.
Earlier this year, we published a video about our €20,000 problem, where we talked about the decision of installing our own solar power setup, including sticking with AGM batteries. And wow, did we get ripped apart in the comments for this. Some people thought we were absolutely mad for sticking with AGMs. And we get it. Lithiums are lighter, they're smaller, they charge quicker, they last longer, and they have a greater usable capacity compared to AGMs.
So if lithium is so amazing, why do we still have AGMs on our boat? Well, lithium is more expensive, it's more complicated to install because of insurance, and it can bring greater fire risk. But the main reason is our boat actually came with 4 AGM batteries pre-installed, and we thought it was incredibly wasteful to just take those batteries and throw them in the skip. So instead, we bought 2 additional batteries, increasing our capacity to 840 amp hours and giving us enough capacity to power our whole boat. And whilst the majority of YouTube has been laughing at us for installing these batteries, in reality, they've been absolutely amazing. In the last 6 months, we've not had a single day where our battery charge levels have fallen below 75%. In most days, we don't see 80. And when we go into marinas, we don't even bother plugging in.
And one of the reasons we can do this is our solar panel setup. This self-made rig can generate around 1500 watts an hour at its peak. But even on cloudy days, we still get an average around 500 watts an hour. And that's because they're bifacial panels. So not only do they absorb sunlight from the top, but they're also taking in light from the reflection from the water. And on top of this, they're also intelligent. So they will automatically turn part of the solar panel off if it gets shaded, meaning the rest of the panels that are not shaded keep the power coming in.
So do we have battery envy? Do we regret our decision to install AGMs? Well, no. The AGMs have been awesome at powering our current lifestyle. As long as you've done your maths and you know your calculations, you know how much power you're going to use, don't be pressured into buying lithium. AGMs might be a great alternative.
Okay, so let's talk anchors. The internet will tell you that if you don't buy a specific type of anchor called a rockner, then you're basically doomed and you will die in a big storm. So did we buy a rockner? Nope, we bought a completely different anchor instead.
This is the anchor that came from factory, a 20 kilogram Delta. Now we did change this anchor, we did switch it out, but not for a rockner. We switched it out for the same type of anchor, just a heavier one at 32 kilograms. Why? Well, because when you're sleeping and living on anchor, bigger is always better. But a 32 kilogram Delta is about €400. The equivalent rockna is about 3 times that. So we don't have a rockna. But have we dragged? Have we died? Are we doomed? No, we've slept soundly for the last 6 months and haven't dragged an inch, even in 50 knots of wind.
Another decision that we had to make, which I thought was a bad one, was the size of our outboard for our tender. Andrew was insistent that he wanted a big 15 horsepower engine so that we could wakeboard behind it. But I just thought this was ridiculous and far too big for what we needed.
But I can be pretty persuasive if I want to be. The biggest problem with our outboard is its weight. It weighs 50 kilograms. But the models smaller than it, especially the 10 horsepower, it gives you 30% less power, but it weighs almost exactly the same. So the trade-off just didn't make any sense.
So I gave in, and I instantly thought I was going to regret it. But I can honestly say it's been an absolute game changer. Some anchorages are a couple of miles away from the nearest town or marina, so having a powerful engine means we're not limited on where we can go. I take it back, I couldn't imagine having a smaller engine.
And finally, the thing we thought we would regret the most is not speccing the dual helm station, not having throttles on this side of the boat. We hummed and had about this decision for so long, and we've spoken about this in detail on the channel before. Having throttles on this side would just give you such great visibility when you're coming into marinas, but they were a €10,000 option.
But the main reason why we didn't spec them was because you have to change from mechanical throttles to electronic. We'd heard mixed reviews about electronic throttles, and that's why we didn't spec them. And since then, we've heard so many stories of people having issues or them failing completely, usually at the worst possible moment when docking into a tight marina. If you've had experiences with electronic throttles, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
So trusting our gut and skipping that option on the spec sheet, we reckon was a pretty smart move. It just means we had to invest in a pair of marriage savers. Ruth, are you listening? Ruth!
And now for the juicy bit. The decisions we really do regret.
Okay, straight in at number one, and by far our biggest cock up, not installing a water maker. We didn't install one initially because we didn't have enough time at the start of the season. We had a 1 week period between our broker delivering the boat to us and then our delivery crew arriving to go to Biscay. And well, within that week, we prioritised our solar install instead. And over the last 6 months, we've not been in a single place long enough to install one.
For those that don't know what water makers do, they basically suck in salty seawater, force the water through a process called reverse osmosis, which means it forces dirty water through filters to produce fresh and clean drinking water. So in theory, you have an unlimited water source. Amazing, right? But water makers are one of the most expensive things you can add on as an extra to your boat. X has quoted us €15,500 to spec this from factory. But living on anchor, it's honestly such a pain not having a water maker. We have 2 water tanks with a combined capacity of 600 litres, and that normally lasts about 2 to 3 weeks. But we're constantly having to think about where our next water source is coming from.
And it can be pretty stressful at times. Quite a lot of fuel docks in the Mediterranean don't have water services, and marinas typically don't like boats constantly coming in and out just for water if they're not going to stay the night. There was one marina in Ibiza wanted to charge us €60 just to top up our water tanks. So all of this means that we maybe don't shower as much as we really should.
Yeah, so we've definitely had to embrace the cruiser lifestyle when it comes to showering. So a water maker is now at the top of our list for winter upgrades. Next up on the regret list, a washing machine. Now, at the time we thought this was a little bit bougie and we really wanted the extra cupboard space. But the reality of living aboard full time is we get through a lot of laundry, especially when we have friends on board. Having to haul all of our bedding, towels and clothes to shore every couple of weeks has become a bit of a chore. And whilst it keeps me fit and strong hauling all that laundry, I would really appreciate a washing machine upgrade.
Our next regret is probably our biggest one. So big in fact that we dedicated a whole YouTube video to it called Disaster in the Bay of Biscay. So what happened? Well, our boat was delivered to us on the west coast of France, and we had to take the boat through the Bay of Biscay, round through Orca Alley, and get it to Gibraltar as quickly as possible. One, because we had to export the boat from Europe, but secondly, because we didn't want to waste our Schengen days on a passage.
Yeah. So we decided to hire crew to make our first passage on Rúna as easy as possible. We hired a skipper and a first mate for a number of different reasons. Firstly, this was our first sail across the Bay of Biscay and our first passage on Rúna. We also knew that the number of orca attacks down the Portuguese coast was on the rise, so we wanted some expertise to try and help us avoid those orca attacks. Andrew also had to work, and I can suffer from pretty bad seasickness, especially when I haven't found my sea legs yet. So we wanted a little bit of help.
Yeah, the plan was simple. 4 people on 4-hour rotations, giving everyone loads of time off, and a dedicated professional skipper that would look after the passage so I can work when I need to, and it takes the pressure off Ruth if she gets seasick. What should have been a really easy 7-day passage turned into an absolute shit show.
If you want the full lowdown of the Bay of Biscay passage, then we'll put a link up here and in the description below so that you can go back and watch the full video. But to give you a high-level overview, where do we start? There were huge weather delays. We had a skipper that was making dubious passage decisions. We had huge swell, loads of seasickness. A crew member was sacked halfway through, which meant we were stuck in A Coruña for about a week, which was 600 nautical miles from our final destination. And what should have taken around 7 to 10 days actually took around a month. So yeah, not great. And then to put the cherry on top of the cake, we were also hit with a bill of around 7,500 euros, which was about 3 times our original quote.
Yeah, ouch. That one hurt, didn't it? And with hindsight, I think we would do this passage very, very differently if we were to do it again. I think Ruth or I would take on responsibility of being skipper, and we would just reach out to the sailing community for help to see if anybody was looking for crewing opportunities. There are so many amazing sailors that are looking to build their sailing hours. We should have just asked you guys instead of paying for a professional delivery crew to come with us. So yeah, lesson learned. We get a lot of people reaching out to us who are thinking about buying a boat. So hopefully from this video you can learn from our mistakes and avoid having any future regrets for yourself.
Yeah, and if you're a sailor, what is the biggest regret that you've ever had on your boat? Or if you're still planning, then what is that decision that you're wrestling with at the moment? Drop us a comment below. We love hearing from you, and I'm sure it'll help others too.
Yeah, absolutely. We always try to reply to all of the comments. But if you've also enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really does mean the world to us and allows us to continue making these great videos. See you next week.
See you.